Hello, Buddhas from around the world. My name is Lina and I'm 14 years old and I live in Tunisia. Maya and I will ask questions to Reedid about her background, journey, work, skills, and impact. We hope that you will enjoy this session, and I will now start with our first question to our guest. Hi, Alena. We are excited to meet you today. To start our interview, can you please tell us a little bit more about you, your hobbies, and what you do for work?
First of all, I'm so glad to be here with you. Thank you for having me. I really was looking forward to this interview and forward to meeting you, first of all. So hi again. I'm from Slovakia, from eastern part of the country, from a city called Košice. It's the second largest city in the country. I'm 44 years old. And what is it what I like to do? I think that it started during my teenage time and even during childhood when I started to read a lot. So I was always very much focused on exploring the new worlds. And I've done this through books mostly in the beginning. I love all kinds of arts. I'm not an artist, but I enjoy going to galleries and visiting museums and theaters. So this is what I like to do. And what I do currently, and it is the result of 18 years of my career, so it is the result of some development, is that I work as an advocate for ending homelessness in my city, which means that what we are trying to do with my team is to house all homeless people in my city, first of all. In Košice, yeah. So we started 4 years ago when I came from the US, where I spent 1 year here in Boston, studying at Boston University. And I've learned a lot during my stay in the US about how we can do, what are the evidence-based practices to end homelessness, which means what works. So I joined the organization, which is called Foundation DEDO. And we started a pilot project, which is focused on housing first approach, which means that we are trying to house as many homeless families as possible. Since we started, we housed 20 families already, and we want to grow this number to 45, hopefully in a few months, which means that families who spent many years living in shelters or unfortunately in encampments will have their new homes. It means that parents and kids will have a regular affordable rental housing available. So that's it. That's what we do.
Hey, that's amazing. So our next question for you is, what inspired you to start your project for ending homelessness?
It was a combination. I've seen a lot of poverty and homelessness in my city, but I didn't know what the solutions could be. But when I spent a year here and I also tried to study what could be the solutions, I figured it out that there are some evidence-based approaches, which means that there are ways how to end homelessness. People in my country don't even think about homelessness a lot. We still try to pretend that it doesn't exist because it's mostly hidden. People and many homeless people live in a hidden homelessness. You don't see them on the streets. So this is what we're trying to now bring up on the surface in my country, that there are many people who are homeless, families, women, men, elderly people, young people, teenagers as well. So we are trying to bring this as a public topic, and we also are trying to promote solutions, and we're trying to implement some. So, and what made me to do that it was a combination of things, but it was also one personal experience here in Boston when I visited one organization which is working on ending homelessness for more than 35 years. And I've seen how they approach homeless people, how they serve them. They don't expect them to deserve anything. They just come and meet them where they are. They serve them. They provide them with healthcare mostly and some social counseling, and they are able also to house them. And I was so touched by their approach that I felt that this is something what I have to do as well in my country. So I'm trying to bring the same approach to Slovakia.
Oh, that's so great, and that's so thoughtful and everything.
Yeah. I saw on LinkedIn that you lived in Kosice. Did your childhood and environment growing up have any impact on your visions and decisions today?
Oh, definitely. I grew up, I was 12 when communist regime has ended in my country. So I remember first 12 years of my life living under the authoritarian regime, which means that everything was under control. I remember it all, even as a child, that we couldn't really make our own decisions. So if I wanted to change the school, it had to be approved by someone. And if that person didn't want me to do that, I wouldn't be able to. So, but I was very lucky that my parents supported me in education. But what was very important when there was a Velvet Revolution in 1989 in my country, I experienced that the change is possible. And I could really live during the time when my country was changing so quickly. So in one moment we could travel, and we could, my parents could start their own business. And I could make my own decisions of how I want to spend my free time. So I joined the Girl Scouts team, for example. That was not possible before that. Everything was organized. So I could really make my own decisions and I could see that the change is possible. And this has affected me a lot. I think that this is one of the reasons why I became a social innovator and changemaker, because I could experience as a teenager that change is possible. So I think that my childhood was full of changes. And I could also, for example, see my parents starting their own business. And I could see how they had to start from the scratch, not knowing anything about business and entrepreneurship. And they were trying, learning by doing.
It showed you that it was possible to. Yeah.
It was possible thanks to the change in my society. But for me, it was exciting because at that time I was like 15, 16 years old. And they were young parents, and I could watch them how they developed their new ideas, how difficult it was, how challenging it was. But I could also see their first successes, and this was exciting for me. So I think that I'm also very much influenced by that experience.
That's great. So our next question is, because we saw on your website that you worked for a very long time with the government of Slovakia. And can you tell us about your experience, how you lived it, and how was it actually?
Yeah, well, it was exciting. I joined the local, first regional and then local government office it was my first job after the university in 2003. And at that time, regional government was a new institution, so it was just established. And I worked for a president of our region, and he started many new initiatives. So again, the change, I could feel the change and I could participate in building some new projects. But my most significant activity while working with local government was initiative which is called the European Capital of Culture. Every year, 2 European cities are selected to host the European Capital of Culture event. And before that, you have to go through national competition. So we competed for the title on the Slovak level, and we won the competition in Slovakia. I was member of the team. And we developed a project how to transform our city through culture, which means because of the communist regime, my city was there were not so many opportunities in the field of culture. There were not opportunities for young artists to start their new careers. There were not so many cultural venues. And this is what we came up with. We wanted our citizens to give them the opportunity to use the city. This was the title of our project, Use the City. And we really created a participatory project for our citizens just to give them the opportunity to enjoy the city. We have created several activities. We fundraised 100 million euros, and we really reconstructed many military venues or military barracks or other venues to cultural venues. And now in the city, there are not only venues where you can enjoy the culture, and not only classical culture, but also like modern and alternative culture. But also there are programs for artists who want to start their own initiatives and activities. So the city has come alive, I think, based on that project, and it was exciting to be part of that, because again, you are starting from the scratch. You have to come up with some idea then you have to compete with this idea, then you have to fundraise money, which is difficult but exciting at the same time, and then you can see things happening. And this is, I think, what I love to see, when things are changing and I can be part of that change. So European Capital of Culture, Košice 2013, was the project I'm the most proud of during the first decade of my career.
That's so
Great.
good.
I just wanted to say, how did you make artists, use the city? Did you tell them to draw on the walls, or how was it for them to express themselves?
Yeah. So first of all, several of our activities were focused on using the public spaces, parks, squares. This wasn't usual at that time very much. So we brought many activities to the public spaces. So people didn't have to go to some cultural venues to see the art, but they were just passing.
All over the street.
It was all over there. It was all over there, and the artists could use the places and sites specifically to express themselves. So there was a lot of dance. There was a lot of mural art, like paintings, and we really gave the opportunity to young artists and also teenagers
to express
themselves and kind of to own the place, and it was really exciting because I think that it has also changed our mentality a little bit, because during the communist regime, people usually live their private lives in their privacy of their homes, and we just wanted to get them out of their homes and go to the streets and enjoy the place.
Do something extra.
Yeah, and something visible, and something what they could really enjoy freely. And I think that this was one of the results of it.
Yeah, really, it's a good idea actually. Maybe we should try and do that in Tunisia.
We should. Yeah, that'd be so colorful and nice.
You definitely should, and I think that you are the right generation to do that.
Yeah, hopefully we would. So I heard that you switched to non-profit sector. Can you tell us why?
Sometimes for me, working for the government was exciting because you can really have the influence. Mm-hmm. But I made my choice because of some ethical issues I had. So our government has changed, and I have decided, even though I loved my job, I loved working on the European Capital of Culture project, but I kind of saw that the next few years probably won't be my values. I probably wouldn't be able to live according to my values. So I decided to leave the job. And it was a difficult thing to do because I loved it. I felt that oh my God, this is my dream job, and I decided to leave my dream job. But on the other hand, it gave me the opportunity to think differently, because when you spend 10 years doing something, you kind of get used to it. Even though it's exciting, it's new, it's innovative, you kind of think that, okay, so I know what to do. So I tried to challenge myself. And because I previously I was working for the government, which means that you bring the change from the top to bottom. And I wanted to try a different approach, because when you work in non-profit sector, you introduce changes from the bottom and you try to talk about, to the top. So I thought that maybe this would be a good stretch out for me. So I joined, so I started as a freelancer to work with several non-profits, and I helped them to develop some projects and fundraise money. So I worked as a fundraiser and project manager, development manager. So I wanted to change the approach because I thought, and I still think so, that I can be more independent when I work for a non-profit sector.
I see. So can you tell us more, because we read something on, I don't know the site, but we read something about DEDO function. And can you tell us what your role is there and what you do and what is it? And
Yeah, sure, definitely. So Foundation DEDO was established 25 years ago by my current mentor. And he's a business person. He started several activities in my city, and he kind of created the IT sector in my city on that level as it is. And since the beginning of his career, he also wanted to do something which he perceives as doing good. So he started also Foundation DEDO. And I joined the Foundation DEDO 4 years ago as a development manager, which means that my role is creating the programs, building strategy, fundraise money, and start new activities. So this is what I've been doing since then. And again, you can see the same pattern. So I like to create innovations, and bring some change. So this is what I'm doing, which is an exciting thing to do. And for me, it's something like being an entrepreneur, but I'm just not doing it for having some profit, but I'm doing it for public good. But it's very similar in the essence of the job. It's very similar.
That's great.
How long have you been there?
This is my 4th year, and I'm joining. And once I will go back home in a few days, I will probably join the organization again, maybe in a slightly different role, but I want to continue with that.
Oh, you are moving back
to Slovakia? Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so
sorry. So we also read that you plan on ending homelessness in your home city, so that's your goal. But how are you planning on doing that? How did you do that exactly?
Mm-hmm. So there are several ways how you can do that. First of all, and we already done the first step. Because we work mostly with homeless families, we are focusing mostly on families with children. So we organized last year the first registry week, which is kind of a city count of homeless families. But we not only counted them, we made an interview with them because we wanted to know what are their needs, how long have they been homeless, what are their health issues, what are the careers of the parents. And so we kind of know what the situation of homeless families is. So it was the first step. And the second step is that we started the Housing First project, which means that we try to house as many families as quickly as possible. So we don't want them to spend much time, or ideally not to even have to use the shelter system. So as I already said, we were able to house families. So what we do is that we rent apartments from the commercial private market, and we sublet apartments to families. But not only that, we also provide them with support. So we have social workers, psychologists, and lawyer and nurse who work with them to help them to solve all the issues they have, just to keep them just to help them to sustain their housing. So this is what we do. We try to end homelessness of people by housing them and supporting them to sustain their housing. And we are doing this as a pilot project. So our impact is not that big for now. But we do it as a kind of a showcase that it is possible to apply this approach in my city, because we want other organizations and other cities to take this approach and use it as well. And our end game is we want to achieve the situation where there will be no chronically homeless people in my city and in my country in a few years. And if somebody becomes homeless, because it can happen, people can lose housing, there can be issues, we would be able to find the person as quickly as possible and house the person or the family as quickly as possible, just to prevent them from being chronically homeless. Chronically homeless means that you are homeless for several months or years even. So we want to prevent this situation. So ideally, it would look like if there is someone, we won't have any chronically homeless people, everybody will be housed. We'll have a housing solution for them. And if someone happens to become homeless, we will be able to solve the situation as quickly as possible. So people will only have to spend several days or weeks in a shelter system. And this is a strong topic also for young people in my country. There are many people who are living in institutional care. We call them children's homes or foster care. And because they don't have family to support them, they very often end up homeless, being homeless in our cities. So we want to also work with this population, with these young people, because homelessness has many negative effects. People get, sick very quickly. They cannot find jobs. Kids cannot go to school, and if they go to school, they really cannot achieve good results as they would probably want to. So housing for us is not only one thing we do, it's just the beginning of the full solution. And we also think that housing is a human right. This is what we want to bring as a new idea to our society.
Yeah, because there's a psychology effect on your mental health when you're homeless, I guess. I mean,
Yeah, definitely. It is very traumatic to be homeless, and
yes,
once you experience it, it can affect you for a long time, and you need to be healed. And first of all, you need to end. So homelessness needs to be ended. So I think that having a home, having a stable place you can live, just gives you this healing environment where you can really, have your place.
A place where you feel good.
Absolutely, and where you can also create relationships with other people, with your family. If it's a single man or single woman, they can start a family if they want, because they have conditions for that. And also being part of the community. Once you live in a standard apartment and you have neighbors, you can start developing relationships with them, and it makes.
When you need something, it's whole life. I don't know how to say this, but it's a whole thing. I mean, it should be.
Once you have a home, you are not invisible anymore. You are a visible neighbor, and this is the thing, I think, which really helps people to start their new lives from the scratch, I think. So this is what we are trying to do, to give the people the chance to have full lives.
So you said that you are helping. You want to end homelessness in Slovakia. So I guess you work a little bit with the government too, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So it's like all times, I guess.
But it's a very good thing that I have experienced, that I had been working with the government in the past, because I kind of speak their language, and I know how.
You know how it works, how.
Yeah, exactly.
You also have contacts with them.
I know some of the people, and it's much easier for us then to communicate. And
you already have the relationships.
That's it. This is why it's interesting to change sectors from time to time, because you kind of get to know the people, you kind of get to know the language, you can create relationships, and then it's much easier to communicate across boundaries. So it was very helpful in my career.
That's great. So we wanted to know, what made you enter the social changemakers community established by the Social Innovation and Change Initiative at Harvard? I'm sorry, it was long, but
when I came to Cambridge in August last year, I've learned that there is a program for social changemakers, and I just applied. I remember writing my application at nights, because during the day we had already the lectures and so on. So I don't even remember really what was the process, because I was so tired, but I knew that this is the opportunity for me to write my application. And I was so lucky that I was selected to become a Chang Fellow, one of the members of a small cohort of social change makers. And it was Chang Initiative is an excellent program for change makers. There are, in our cohort, there are people from various fields, some from the business field, some more from the nonprofit field. Some of them had they were at the stage of idea of their social innovation, but in the case of some of them, they already had their companies, with thousands of employees. So it was very diverse. And we spent the whole year working together, developing our own initiatives, supporting each other as a Chang Fellow. So, there was a huge exchange of ideas, and it was so nice. And also we had the support of the Kosice team, who are the experts, some kind of our coaches and mentors. So imagine that you get to, you have an opportunity to be a part of a training program for social change makers, and everybody is there to support you for the whole year, So it was an exciting experience. And at the end,
you don't hesitate, you just apply.
Yeah, so the first thing was to apply, and then you get this so rich program of learning, of people who support you. So it was really an excellent.
Of people bringing up, because I guess the people who have companies.
Yeah.
And help the people who are at the idea stage, and help them to establish.
Yeah, and it's exciting that you can learn from people whose businesses or innovative programs are very different, from totally different fields, but you can get new ideas from them, because they make you think out of the box. So this was it. And some of our coaches and mentors who were also part of the program are very experienced. So imagine that for the 1 year, you get this dream team to support you. So it was really exciting to be part of the program. And we could also present our ideas at the end of the program. We had a showcase event when we could really present what we are doing. And it was also perfect because we could get to know other people who can help us in the future. So networking was a really big part of the program. Yeah.
So I know that right now you're in Harvard, but what do you like most about your job, or in general?
In general, what I like is that I love to see that we are able to change our systems, our societies, so they can be more just and equitable for all people. In my case, it's homeless people for whom I'm trying to serve. But to see that someone who spent 10 years living in shelters, for example, can finally have their safe home, the place where they can live. They know that this is their new home, and then where they can really be safe, secure, and they can start their life from the scratch. This is exciting. It is exciting to bring the opportunities these people should already have. But unfortunately, our societies are not always just. But to create the environment or opportunities which for people who did not have them, it's just exciting. So this is what I like about my job the most too. And also there's another thing, it's not only giving people homes, it is a great thing to do, but also change of the narrative. I mean, there are people usually are telling very negative things about homeless folks, and we're also trying to change that. Because it's not the individual decision of the people to be homeless. It is the result of some systemic problems. So this is what I love about my job, that I can see the change happening and I can see more just systems, hopefully.
Yes, it's because of society that they're kind of ironic for people to laugh at them.
Yes.
And now that we saw the cool, not the coolest, but the best thing the thing you like the most in work, we wanted to know, what's the toughest thing you do in your work every day? What's the challenge?
So the challenge is that when you want to start some innovation, you need money for that and you need people. So fundraising is a very difficult issue. And mostly in case when your activity is new or it's like counterintuitive, I would call it. So usually when we talk about homelessness in Slovakia, people mostly see shelters as solutions. I see homes as solutions, and it is sometimes challenging to introduce this idea to people who could support us, our future donors. So fundraising is a difficult thing, but it's also the way how we can promote what we are doing and present it. So this is one thing, and sometimes I think that many social innovators might feel lonely in their work, because it's not that you are part of some, sector where all people do the same things. You can go, you use a different approach usually. You try to implement some very counterintuitive programs and ideas. So it might feel very lonely. So I'm very grateful for being part of the Chang Fellowship program, because I will have this community forever. And there are also many other people in my country who are trying to introduce some innovations. So I try to be as much in touch with them as possible so we can support each other. So these are the two most challenging things, I think.
Yeah.
The last question is, what advice would you give young people who want to be change makers?
I think that one of the most important thing is to dream big. So once you have some dream, and even though it might look that it is difficult to achieve and you cannot even imagine the first step to do, having this dream and trying to find a way how you can start and just keeping that dream is very important. I think that this is the thing which is critical. And I think that also trying to find other people who might have these big ideas and big dreams and who can help you and help us to achieve them. So kind of building some coalitions or relationships with them, supporting each other, it's critical. So dreaming big and trying to be in touch and helping people who also dream big, it's just the first two steps to start implementing.
Be a change maker.
Yeah, definitely. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We are so grateful that you accepted this, and thank you so much for your answers. It was really interesting.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for your questions, because they were just great. And thank you very much also for this opportunity to talk about my work, because I really hope that there are so many people from your generation, from all countries all over the world, who have big dreams. And I think that sometimes we just need to hear that there are other people who also dream big, and that this is something what we can follow. You know, it's not a stupid thing to do. It is a very thoughtful and inspiring thing to do. So
it's not. Yeah. I mean, we always think that it's the hardest thing to do, and it's always just really hard. But I imagine that when you get started, it's gonna get easier, and then I don't know.
Yeah, because you learn, you know, as you do the thing, you work on your program or your innovation, you learn a lot, and there are people who are willing to support you. So it's about, you know, reaching out to them or trying to find them and trying to support each other. It's just so important. So, and also helping other people who have their big dreams to be successful, because once this is what I think, that once there are many people in the society who just are willing to change the things, it is very useful, and this is for the country. So supporting each other in this endeavor, you know, of achieving something which could help many people, it's just a great thing to do. So thank you very much for having me. You are just great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.